Well, we shall more cover the back black media and some agent home na any or my gun and baby of a Fabiano na and semi a bushiao. And imagine Megua say mene a black a chef for a baby di home como. I say dear, make us a politics in our headquarters and a basse a manual some dia. Abusia wonyam firi baby a agese ke black media but modern sem koma ubedi wudi wani beto fon na do aso ato fon no anya bi atie abusia ayansam be samiensa ene ye ka bom ade amake black ahwefo eye kinofoli ata abusia ye declare no as a wanted ene me ne wo kasei ye nato eye red interpol so a abusia aje ne ho me na eno ana ye nya ne nte ye se impo kinofolata busia for ababonten ababeka se kinofolata sabi woyare a ene na yase eba ne ntohwe mu no yaye no eye operation se ne ye nananom beka ne yaye no operation a enya asam ketwa e wo honom na no krampo no ana MPP fo no bi ka se ye papa ye wo fa ye bibia kinofolata onye bone bi asabi e wo se eye Ghana ban Candy4 any President John Dramani Mahama eso papa yi pa atwi ne se papa yi aye bone a ebi ensida eno na nkrofo nso bi ka se eye kinofilata aye bone pa ene chance sabi Judas Iscariot kura akoko yi Yesu Kristo ede no ema ye kinofilata wudi a wadi Ghana no eno na nkrofo aka ho asem abusia ya die mu akwa akonya eye kinofilata scandals eye ni secret videos bi a eno epia bonten amienwu se ampa sane enkrofo kan se kin ofoli ata sabi wadi o man Ghana abro no yakonya bia ye ne eyeke black ahwefo eba behwe na yedi hu nkomo abusa sansem kuru ye mu no nso no ye bekọ akohwe eye enura attorney general so edin sembi eba betu dwa efa eye maame efle ne se Gifty Oware enso ene scandal ho sensemi na at the end of the day wade awufo din ekokọhye atiasefo enkwa nwomemu a abusia eno so already mu ba bonten no omaba behu se da bi awufo ntimi mambedi atiasefo sika ema ne yeye ne sanse nti no enura eye attorney general nso eje ne home na pa wo eye oman Ghana mlehye bedwafi a eno so wo release press conference waka ho nsem bebre abusia yebeto aso akwa akodi nkomo e de afa Abronye DC nso ono so radio station a wabie na ene wode counter eye Kennedy wahina kompreko Japan a impo o release eye secret upon secret e de afa Kennedy Japan say woni nkrofobia ye adwuma for over 15 good years aketua krampo ni sabi ontua o man nam so krampo mo di Kennedy Japan achi nyina no sabi abusia omu nyina e firi na chi akwa akodi eye team foforo achi wo MPP mu a enya asam ketwa na me kan ma ka kire wo say eke black media yan hyase emfan free eye kin ofoliata ensensem ya abusia ene eje ne home na Ghana ha say baby a obefa bia no obi ebo kin ofoliata din boni obi nso ebo ni din papa se sebi mpanifo se wanya bibi ama wase a ensai enyai enkonkobɔ ne kro no a enkrofo beble se kin ofoliata ba beje o man Ghana sika sem si woye pa omaboa ama Ghana sika sem timi tuto yi a ene ayam efonsa nsem a eba ye no se ye kin ofoliata kasa amle krampo Ghana ke de sia wowa eno na busia NDC fo ne Ghana fo ne bi nso se sansam na MPP fo kan se bi eye false propaganda no kuro bia enim ne sansa nti no omodie die mu de eye secret videos bi aba betu dwa eno ene nam so makin ofoliata aye wanted dia ene busia video no mu nsam no kokosha in fact asefem papa ase say sa na tie de ne Ghana Abronye be say we have a long way to go ye wo kwantente pa kwa abusia sa kwan na ye kono yenim da ye beba wo hwe videos ahwe wutie eye video ni mu nsam na wo hwe eye videos ni pictures aye twetwa emu nsam no a kire sa kinofoliata na sa ne amani nyina no sabi wode ne sika ya ama Ghana ekọ eye ahokyere mu na abusia areho kame ho ne enkonkɔhwe kinofoliata videos no bi emra ne yeba be di nkomo bomode se video ya ye hwe ne nkomo a ye di wode wadwen kyerɛ beto comment section ase mesraw se wode to ono ma na wode ato wo buo ne ani die kwan so kyerɛ se adwen kyerɛ wo ne sabi etesem paboa size e bia na me ka se Sanye Bernard Bishop Benyako size so no eya sa na double enso size ye etie enso be few ma sabi double so we nyini pa eye enti wo de adwenkyere no eto no ma me aka amawa but modern sa wo de beto in the decent and also polite way yankohwe kinofoliata scandals ni bi emrest here.
We have NPA refs at the depots, so by the time you are done seeing everybody, that exercise is not even lucrative anymore. And the depot has a reputation to protect, because if day in, day out, people get to know that products get missing at your place, they are in for business. People will not come and store their products there. So even when there are no systems, it is virtually impossible. And we haven't had any such case, ever since.
It is also important to note that although the GRA has contracted SML, the readings from the SML meters are not used by the GRA for its tax purposes.
It has been the way bill figure, which is meters, the volume that is being dispensed from the meters. That is the volume we use for tax purposes, which it is. That is the gantry meters.
SML has confirmed to the Fourth Estate that the meters at the loading gantries of the depots, which are calibrated by the Ghana Standards Authority every 6 months, take more accurate readings than the meters of SML. These are the readings that are used for tax and revenue purposes and not the readings by the SML meters.
From the engineering perspective, if you have contact meters and not
these are the readings that are used for tax and revenue purposes and not the readings.
Okay, so the contact meters are always the best.
we also know that the depots, they have the contact meters.
Yes.
You've alluded to the fact that the contact meters are the best.
Wow. So, if the XML meters are less accurate and their readings are not the ones used for tax purposes by the GRA, can SML claim credit for the revenue increment in the sector?
If you look at what NPA is doing tank gauging and also metering, it is even much more sophisticated than what SML is doing. On top of that, they also have tank tracking. They're able to track the volumes on every tank from the depot to the filling station. If all of that is not addressing the leakages that we do have, just having electronic seals at the depot wouldn't be a more effective way to ensure that revenue is actually generated from the downstream sector.
The Fourth Estate also confronted the managing director of SML with the figures the company churned out as savings it made because of its operations. First was the claim in April 2021 that SML saved the state 1 billion Ghana cedis due to its operations.
If you use the 2019 as a base,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
Subtract this one, you will get 1 billion for 2020.
It's 800 million.
Okay, about 800 million, okay.
The company started operations in 2020. From the revenue figures we obtained from the GRA, the difference in the total revenue from the downstream petroleum sector between 2019 and 2020 is 800 million cedis. If all the increment was attributed to the work of the company, it will still fall short of the 1 billion cedis it claimed to have saved. In February 2023, SML Ghana Limited again claimed that it had saved 3 billion cedis due to its operations. The company has admitted the services it listed on its website as curtailing irregularities in the sector did not exist and deleted them from the website. Even if SML was carrying out those services and all the incremental revenue within the period of its operations was credited to the company's efforts, the amount would be 2.4 billion cedis and not 3 billion cedis as it claimed to have saved. When we put these figures to the managing director, he made a shocking admission.
That's why that 3 billion, I'm not. That's why I told you from the beginning. I said I don't know about this 3 billion.
We cannot say your intervention saved 3 billion.
No, I said 3 billion. I'm not, I've told you that I'm not aware. Because when we were told about the publication, we even called it.
As we speak this morning, still on your website.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In fact, to be honest, me, I don't even know website matter.
Despite evidence that SML Ghana lied about the services it renders to the state and the amount of money it claimed to have saved, the finance minister, Ken Ofori this year decided that the company's contract should be expanded to cover the gold mining sector and the upstream petroleum production sector in Ghana. A contract cited by the Fourth Estate shows that SML Ghana is entitled to $0.75 per barrel of oil produced in Ghana. Ghana currently produces between 160,000 and 170,000 barrels of oil per day. The country is expected to add an additional 80,000 barrels per day from the Pecan oil fields, which is expected to be developed a little over a year from now. The company is also entitled to 0.75% of the total volume of gold produced in the country. Ghana last year produced 3.7 million ounces of gold. What this means is that per current arrangement, SML Ghana is entitled or will be paid over $100 million every year. This contract is for 10 years. The Ministry of Finance, the GRA, are yet to respond to our right to information request on these contracts. The regulator of the upstream sector, the Petroleum Commission, has however said it knows nothing about this contract. The Petroleum Commission also says it has no report on leakages or loss of revenue in the upstream sector. The reason this company is employed or contracted to monitor.
Recently, Talo, installed new metering systems that were calibrated by the Standards Authority. Is Finance Ministry saying that those metering systems went wrong, or is that the feedback they got from the Standards Authority that the meters that are already in place have problems? That requires that we bring in SML to now be the one that can accurately monitor petroleum production.
When asked what his advice to the Commissioner General of the GRA on the SML contracts would be if he was still the technical advisor, Mr. Soti said he could not answer.
That is not a question for me to answer. I'm not.
How do you charge for your services? Is it billed based on the quantity you check or the revenue made?
That is handled by another. If I'm only handling the operations, as to how charges and so on, I'm not privy to that one.
So you don't know how much GRA pays you for your services?
No, I have no idea. I have no idea.
SML Ghana is not the first third-party revenue assurance service provider whose operation has raised questions. In the telecommunications sector, the services of Suba Info Solutions and now Kelne GVG have raised concerns in the past for similar reasons as SML Ghana. Currently, the operations of Safaritech Ghana have been flagged and the controversy is still raging. SML Ghana has not been able to flag any anomaly or underreporting, diversion or dilution of petroleum products, but it is being credited for the gains made in curtailing losses in the sector. It appears these companies are brought in the name of revenue assurance to take credit for the work of GRA officials and take from the taxes collected after adding very little or nothing by way of revenue. Evans Eziamo Mensah, Ajua Adubia Owusu, and Manasseh Azure Awuni's report for the Fourth Estate. Used the fuel marking system.
Fuel marking can be defined as the addition of a biochemical substance into the petroleum product. Now, This biochemical substance is added in trace quantities, very minute quantities, taking into context the quantity of petroleum product. And this biochemical substance gives the petroleum product a unique identity, like a fingerprint.
The marking system put in place also tackles the problem of dilution of petroleum products.
So if any adulteration of any sort is done, the National Petroleum Authority, through some random tests they conduct, will be able to detect that the product has been tampered with by way of form of adulteration or dilution.
The ERDMS is linked to the GRA's Electronic Revenue Mobilization System, ICOMS. This means every transaction that takes place can be traced and taxed. Together with the presence of GRA officials manning all the depots to ensure that every liter of product is accounted for, players in the industry say the system is robust enough to curtail the losses of the past.
The ERDMS system that we call the Enterprise Relational Data Management System is a system, for example, that now allows all transactions in the industry to be made on a digital platform, okay, and which therefore allows us visibility, okay, and then also allows us to disable people from operating or lifting petroleum products once they are found to be in default of whatever statutory margins or taxes or levies that they haven't lived up to. So the ERDMS, the absence of the ERDMS at that time, where things were done manually and so on, were perhaps part of some of the regulatory challenges. But since that system was installed, a lot of that has been stemmed.
Without this electronic order, BRV cannot enter inside. And this information, when it comes from NPA portal, it is 100% correct.
Once you are able to track whatever is happening on the ERDMS to ICOMS, I mean, by and large, you have tracked all your volumes. And once you get the volumes right, you are likely to get the taxes also correct.
Despite the robustness of the system, the GRA has contracted a third-party company that is taking credit for all the gains made in the sector, making unsubstantiated claims of revenue savings and receiving millions of cedis for a service whose impact or relevance is difficult to ascertain. SML Ghana Limited started what it calls revenue assurance services to the GRA in the downstream petroleum sector in June 2020. The managing director of the company, Christian Tetesoti, says SML is an offshoot of a timber company he will not name. Mr. Soti was Ghana's Controller and Accountants General from 2005 to 2009 and currently a board member of the Internal Audit Agency. He was an Assistant Commissioner of the GRA, and as of 2019, the same time the GRA entered into the agreement with SML, he was the Technical Advisor, the Commissioner General of the GRA. The GRA is the only customer of SML since its establishment.
We haven't even seen, how SML got this contract, all right? They didn't have any experience before they started doing this work. There were experienced companies around. There was no bid for this kind of transaction. And suddenly they have become the superior audit, institution for the petroleum downstream sector that is getting all contracts. And you ask yourself, what does it take to actually get such contracts?
This is just by inference. Everything shows that somebody was connected, somebody knew about the contract, set up a company, no history in IT, no history in audit, no history in forensics, no history in what we call revenue assurance in telecoms. None of it. And it is given this contract. Now, if I'm to ask my colleague who did that process, that when he was shortlisting to pick the company, what pre-qualification criteria did he establish? And what would have been his reason for choosing that? My next question will go to PPA. When the application came for approval, prior approval for single sourcing, what pre-qualification did they assess? What was the evaluation? What did the evaluation report say about the company and its capability to do the job? And on what basis was that approval given?
Mr. Soti left his job as the technical advisor of the GRA Commissioner ML Ghana in 2020 when the company started its operations for the GRA. SML has its flow meters attached to the pipelines at the depots and records volumes of products that flow through the pipelines and give real-time records of activities at the depots.
You see an auto, you will see a converter that converts it, you will see a wireless transmitter that sends it to an RTU. The RTU is called the remote terminal unit. So what the remote terminal unit is basically a DCS system that totalizes the flow.
Sama ekoswa ebusia twetwe Ghana for ebi adwene pa kire sebi ye de enim so man mu no se wo ye minister anase ma odibre bia dibre na ye de ama wo no wo make sure sebi say registration bi kurampo na wo register under the government of ebia party na wo mu no ba we de ankwankoba sa eti wo hwe documents ya na ye da na di ene nkrata na yipia wutimi se kinofulata ensem we se kuduru empanifo anim a ene abusia obewu pa ewa buruchire honom eno ye nsem a enkrofo eka abusia ha egusu ye Black Media ene ye de kan bomodin se obe subscribe no like no comment ede amame we update efa kinofulata interpa ye na to eso na ene wada red notice pa so ene de na to abusia ye guso edi nkomo be di kan ka chew dada se for adwenkyere eto comment section no ase fama me ne wonte ase adwenkyere bia wo bia no onso betimi de ato comment section no ase ede amame na ya kan fefefe ede ama abusia ya movie enko ye next topic eho efa maame a ene ye fele ne se Gifty Oware ene abusia me ne wo kasai enye asam ketwa kura maame we sei ana wode nsamanfo a omudin abati asefuo mu Gifty Oware ene nsamanfo eburo be sempim du 10,000 ghost names ana Gifty Oware ebo modin se odomudin ba be hihye atiasefo emu etibusome so a sika na ebeba no na ne maami age enti imagine say nipa mako 10,000 na bosumi bia se etuo bia kura mpo ka 1,000 Ghana cedis a for multiply by 10,000 Ghana cedis ana 10,000 people enye nipa ketua abusia yanka de bi wa ha say Attorney General and Minister of Justice Dr. Dominic Ayin has disclosed that Gifty Oware remains a former Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Authority NSA mentor-minded a fraudulent scheme that lead to the misappropriation of over 30 million in public funds. Abusia we ayan sama ene enura Attorney General de baba tuja efa Gifty Oware enwon sensem ene abusia nipa dom a wabo modern ede omudin akwakɔhye atiasefo mu wabra wo mu nyina awu no eno no Attorney General release press conference na ene wodi nsem bi atudwa se wote ne wase a enye ye kyerese sabi atiasefo entimi nkofra wufuo ma ne ye sanso na wufuo nso ntimi befra atiasefo ema ne ye na ne abusia wo hwe secret upon secret a Attorney General edi tudwa na areho pa kyerese oba besia de se oba sabi ototu a nketwere be ma dem nanso maami de ono ototu no wanfa ntwere be ma dem enam se ne bu mu odu na ne boso aye bebrebe na ne boso edu nti ene eba bobi stand ne bobi pacha maami ewo bi gina nanimu pa enti eye ghost names no enyina no o make sure say obaji sika no e de gu eye na ne siremu ene na boso ma eno Magana photo mo wase a enye ya abusia me no kasa yi ni din eboboko a wanhwe ya at the end of the day sama me we say that ho Ghana dia ene ono so woni aban pa bedi ni ya obekọ akwaka mu onsenseme e woni sensa wo mu se ne he fon eye gift Oware so enwo nsem ebobo ba abusia enura pa ni behwe na eye easy number so ka me ho ne kokotie sane eye atoni general de nsem etudwa na wonam so ede warning anasa warning kese pa ede ma ministers ya omo eye NDC aban mu se ma obi dibre se brabe so mo man na eno nkire se fa wonsa mienu ekobo man ni sikamu enti oba beteki obi ete se gift Oware pa no nice keyboard ede na Magana fo eno dan chanson so a wo se ono eye attorney general no waye lawyer pen ene obobo nkrofo a osusu se no madi bone pa wo man Ghana mu a wono attorney general den time wetimi di ntoro etwitwa je san nkrofo ni nyina so wonim se sansam ya ekoso lawyers for eye ntoro pa ntino omode aye omo law ntoro sem no ebe koso so mo kwa akotwitwa e de agi gift Oware nanso wono no baabi a lawyer for na ekono ofiri wona eba enti wonim baabi a lawyers ne de ntoro ni abefa enti we die sa wo de ntoro no kokofa nyankopon sabi nanim o na chi o obe make sure say wono so ahomeka wonimu pa ene VIP nyomo pa no beto e de akere wa wo makwan kura e wo honom abuja ka me hwan ne nkoti attorney general nsama no waka de fa gift Oware scandal yi ho MLCCA
deployment of ghost names on state funds for their personal gain. This they did in direct collaboration with vendors and other accomplices. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, our investigations have revealed that prior to the commencement of each new service year, the directors would submit to Parliament for approval a budget figure representing the number of prospective service personnel for that particular service year. Consequently, or consistently, these figures were inflated by huge numbers. During the fiscal year, the directors will write to the Minister of Finance requesting permission to utilize excess funds allocated in the budget of the National Service Authority. Once authorized, the directors will transfer the funds into NSA's project account at the Agricultural Development Bank, and under the pretext of executing projects, will divert the funds into private pockets. Another criminal scheme hatched and exploited by the directors and staff is the deployment of ghost names onto the NSA system. Once deployed, the directors will then request that both ghost names and genuine names be transmitted by the head of accounts to the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, that is GIPS, for payment. These payments included payments to each card holders procured for the fictitious national service personnel. Our investigations compared monthly data of verified national service personnel generated from the Central Management System and submitted to the NSA Accounts Office, and the data of the NSA personnel who were actually paid through the gift system for a period of 6 years. That is from 2018 to 2024. It was established that a total of 587,543 personnel were to be submitted to gifts for payment of allowances. Meanwhile, data from gifts showed that a total of 650,165 personnel were paid, indicating that 63,672 constituted ghost names. These consisted of the following categories of personnel: that is, national service personnel who were blocked on the CMS system during the registration process. Then national service personnel numbers that exist in the payment records but do not exist on the central management system. And then, of course, NSA or national service volunteers, and then some management staff and marketplace vendors. Fellow countrymen and women, our investigators additionally established that some of the ghost names were added to the list submitted by vendors, representing the number of service personnel to whom they had supplied items or provided loan facilities, allegedly. When these vendors eventually received the payments, the directors and staff would then contact the vendors whose accounts had received payments meet with them and collect the additional money that had been added to the vendors' payments. For instance, we have conclusively established that after collecting these funds, some of the suspects, such as Gezi, Nyako, and Othing, handed them over to suspect Ose Asibe Entry in cash, and on some occasions deposited the cash into his bank account. Ose Asibe was the Chief Executive, the Director General of the National Service Authority. Some directors, such as Gifty Oware Mensah, created and executed a meticulously detailed plan using NSP, National Service Personnel Allowances, as security to obtain a loan of 30,698,218 cedis, 69 pesos, from the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, at an interest rate of 23%. She achieved these results by using other people's information to register a company called Blocks of Life Consult without their knowledge or permission. Subsequently, she presented Blocks of Life Consult through and in the person of Akwesi Ofori Minta to an official of the Agricultural Development Bank, and listing her husband, Mr. Peter Mensah, a lawyer, to act as one of the directors or representative of the said company. She told ADB that the company specialized in supplying home appliances to national service personnel and proposed that ADB finance the company to enable it to supply these items on hire purchase basis to the service personnel, with the NSA being responsible for handling deductions and repayments. During the period, Gifty was the acting director. Gifty Oware Mensah was the acting director of the authority. However, on the marketplace of the authority, there was no indication that Blocks of Life was a registered vendor. Within 2 service years, suspect Gifty Oware Mensah used a total of 9,934 ghost names to misappropriate the aforementioned funds. Investigation further established that after ADB transferred the funds into the account of the company, she subsequently transferred the funds into 4 different company accounts with the names of Amiacom, Scaffold, Oche, and Aristo Logistics and Trading. It was further established that suspect Gifty is a director of Amiacom, and Scaffold Company Limited belongs to suspect Abraham Gezi. That between 3rd March 2023 and 24th May 2024, suspect Gifty transferred 22,925,518 Ghana cedis and 69 pesos to Amiacom, 1 million Ghana cedis to Scaffold, 1,572,000 Ghana cedis to Oche, and 5,200,000 Ghana cedis to Aristo Logistics and Training. We have this.
Looking to level up your life and business game? Welcome to the #1 podcast for business and self-development, Connected Minds Podcast.
Investigations, however, established that Eric Nyako, from 2017 until April 2024, and Idrisu Ibn Abubakar, April 2024 to December 2024, were responsible for preparing and transmitting NSP payroll data to GIPS for payment of allowances with the approval of the former NSA Director Generals, Mustafa Yusuf, who is now an MP, Gifty Oware Abronye, acting from February 2021 to September 2021, and Ose Asibe Entry, September 2021 to January 2025. Without their explicit authority, nothing was possible. In other words, all these transfers could not have taken place without the authorization of the chief executive officers and or the director general, depending on the nomenclature that was used to describe their roles. In the 2022-2023 service year, a total of 256,000 Ghana cedis was deposited into an eSwitch account numbered 1177042059, which is registered in the name of suspect Ose Asibe. Investigations show that he personally received these funds. During a search at his residence, the aforementioned eSwitch card was found, and we intend to tender it in evidence during the course of the trial. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, our investigations further revealed that another suspect, Haruna Maulaya of Al-Faida Ventures, a vendor in the marketplace, received a total of 21,306,272 Ghana cedis and 43 pesos into his account from 2017 to 2024. Suspect Rose Hamilton of Marine Ventures received a total of 50,750,923 Ghana cedis, 15 pesos into her account from 2017 to 2024. Suspect Isaac Asamani of Option Buy Ventures received a total of 11,458,686 Ghana cedis, 90 pesos into his account from 2027 to 2024. A total payment of 167,554,398 cedis and 50 pesos was made into the account of a savings and loan company, a savings and loan entity between 2019 and 2024. Suspect Sylvia Opari of Silsona, the names of the companies are very interesting. Silsona Ventures received a total payment of 10,746,634 Ghana cedis and 41 pesos into her account from 2021 to 2024. Suspect Jacob Yorsin of Inyasampo Ventures received a total payment of 19,199,638 Ghana cedis and 57 pesos into his account from 2021 to 2024. Suspects Philomena Atta and Stephen Kobina Jemfi of Brainwave Ventures received a total of 17,646,523 Ghana cedis and 80 pesos into their accounts from 2021 to 2024. Suspect Solomon Jomina of Alpharita Ventures received a total payment of 8,236,019 cedis and 67 pesos into his account from 2021 to 2024. Suspect Charles Ahiming of GH Ohetech Ventures received a total payment of 14,235,118 Ghana cedis and 14 pesos into his account from 2022 to 2024. Suspect Kweku Opare Agofa and Prince Agofa Awoku of Fralisa Ventures received a total payment of 9,011,164 and 35 Ghana cedis into their accounts from 2023 to 2024. However, none of the aforementioned vendors provided evidence to the investigative team or to myself to prove that the amounts of money they received corresponded to the items supplied or the loans supposedly made to the National Service personnel. Ladies and gentlemen of the media and my fellow countrymen and women, having concluded our investigations, we'll be filing charges against 12 suspects who worked as directors and staff of the NSA. I've already listed them, but for the abundance of doubt, let me mention them again. These are Mustafa Yusuf, a former executive director, Osea Sibe Entry, former Director General, Gifty Oware Mensah, former Deputy Executive Director, Kweku Ohinijan, former Deputy Executive Director for Operations, Abraham Bismarck-Gezi, former Internal Auditor, Kweku Dechi Eje, an Accounts Officer, Idrisu Ibn Abubakar, former Head of Accounts, Stephen Kobina Jimfi, we have asked that he should be rearrested because we've discovered some new accounts that contain some deposits, and so he was picked up this morning. So he is currently also he's undergoing further interrogation. Koforidua, he is a Koforidua director. Then Prince Agofa Ewuku, a district director, and Jacob Yorsin, management information systems administrator in the northern region. We will also file charges against the following persons who are vendors on the marketplace on the central management system of the NSA in the eastern, Greater Accra and Ashanti regions. Isaac Osei Asamani, the owner of Stalwart Option Buy Ventures. Charles Ohomening, the owner of GH Ohek Ventures. Philomena Atta, the owner of Brainwave Ventures. Rose Hamilton, the owner of Marine Ventures. Kwekuo Pare Agofa, the owner of Franlisa Ventures. Solomon Jamina, the owner of Afarita Ventures. Haruna Mawulaya, the owner of Alfaida Enterprise. Sylvia Ntriwa Opare, the owner of Silsona Ventures. And then Peter Mensah, a legal practitioner and the husband of Gifty Oware Mensah. We have made the decision to enter into non-prosecution agreements with some of the persons who were involved in this criminal enterprise, especially the vendors, and these have agreed to provide compelling testimonies as witnesses for the prosecution. In this regard, we have agreed not to disclose their names or their details at this press briefing as part of the NPA, that is a non-prosecution agreement. Because this is going to inure to the efficiency of the prosecutions that will be mounted. And in every prosecutorial decision making, we have the discretion to take decisions that will inure to the benefit of the Republic. And we have decided in the office, together with the investigators, that some of the marketplace vendors and some other directors and staff who came to us may be serving as prosecution witnesses. Some of them offered to be prosecution witnesses, and we rejected their offers. They came, met with my deputy, we evaluated the evidence and thought that it will be inimical to the entire prosecutorial enterprise if we accepted their their offers to serve as prosecution witness. So given the numbers that we're offering to serve as witnesses, it can tell you where we are headed with this investigation. And when the trial starts, with this prosecution, when the trial starts, you will get to know the evidence that we have meticulously gathered from February, when I took over the oral report and handed them over to NIB, to the present. Having provided this factual background, our position is clear that these persons are reasonably suspected to have committed crimes and shall be charged accordingly with the following crimes: stealing, contrary to section 1241 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29; conspiracy to steal, contrary to sections 23(1) and 124(1) of the Criminal and Other Offences Act; willfully causing financial loss to the state, contrary to section 179A(3)(a) of the Criminal and Other Offences Act; using public office for profit, contrary to section 179CA and Other Offences Act; obtaining public property by false statements, contrary to section 5 of the Public Property Protection Decree 1977 SMC.
Attorney General na this answer we say atudwa utimi say ya odie wonimu pa na onim say ye da ya nsonso a ya lawyers yi ebekọ akotwitwa say omode Gifty Oware eno ana Attorney General nsama wo ka ne say ono so ote ase pa na tachirmada na bodwum na moja edi ni mu afirisane a wokọ otimi ba say ye tiasefo ne de embasso a enya adwuma da so obema kwan ama lawyers aba betwetwe age gift Oware tricks de wonim say lawyers say will be pa eno an waka me ate say wo court na wo kɔ no yenka sabi enokure ewo honom dabi ni na ne say ye defend entro based on ne attorney general kano abusia gift Oware won sensem ene yakwakwagye ade aba no oba besi a wetimidie awufuo din ebe frate asefo menim so reincarnation no ene abusia forward nkyere to comment section no ase efama me se oba besi atimitena se na adwen bi ba ne tirimu se oman sika na wose yam se bo modern ni edibi cause da ya MPP ye ntimi ntena so ankwa wie yeda na oba besi a se wan na man se adwen no atimitena se se o ye kwa upper east ya yamfa awufuo edin be se 500 enkonko flat asefo eti upper east sika beba no na a drop it closely eda kwa ko gift Oware account mu no aka yanko upper west ene central no western ne asefo nyina ma me didi sika firi ho no ma eno ene ne de ne to entoma upper abusia ne uhu na deje mu nyina indirectly se me kaze uhu na deje ma what I'm trying to say ni say boni a wodi ye nyina no abusia eto ada ho no ma gift Oware enwo ache ne dendenden abusia gusu ye ke black media enen koma me ne otrase na ye di ye kinofoli Atta abusia da woda Interpol red notice so no eno ene nemisi akunya de bre plus gift Oware nso enwon sensem a ene ghost names scandals a enipa more than be say empimdu 10,000 ghost names ya mami ede akwa count asefo ede no ho no eno nene metena sisi akunya na mitimi sane mu te say antimuni wachi egu anwono mo ahaban so na ene wanya anwono mu ibi ede asa akurase nsuo na wudi wachi na obo ensuo egu omene so amede brewo bomodin so be subscribe like comment ne mi notification bell no so efa mame nyame ya adoma anumre ya de chaman atwibu asiako wuntumi update ebe brew abusia the radio station aban ede ne server to so within a month ni nyina no ya de one day update be brew sama chaman atwibu asiako wuntumi eka ye wa bra no mo wo aban mu from the year 2020 21 22 23 up to 24 awun be fira aban ni mu no sama wa kan ye de ne nsasi ne bo na what there opposition parties including NDC President Don Dramani Mahama some of Kafa and Winnie Abusia Yadini na be brow nene na omode na fason so yade be brow sansam krom na ye be jampo ade akọ update bi abusia ene Abronye DC aba be dan na di ade fa Kennedy wanyana compare ko Japan ho secret abusia enye yiza eno so yade won komo ebe brow sese de me sole gwa no so dodo kunya ba ko fontena so anoma che dua so so a waje buonti na me ka de agya wan say adai me ye Ghana ni biem akra